What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. Now, with this video, we're going to be covering two issues. We're going to be covering The Swamp Thing, issue 7 and 8, getting us completely caught up on this line. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with Ram vs. The Swamp Thing, you are severely missing out, and you need to check out this line. Check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything that the amazingly talented Ram V has been giving us. And over the course of this video, we are going to be seeing the battle between Suicide Squad and the Swamp Thing, with Amanda Waller wanting some kind of piece of the Swamp Thing to use him as some kind of weapon. She sends in Peacemaker and the rest of his team. Heatwave, Asa, Chemo, Parasite, kind of a makeshift B-list team. But under the surface, Amanda Waller, she has ulterior motives. Cause as it stands, Amanda Waller believes that Peacemaker is the one that let Flag out of containment. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into issue number 7, we are picking up with our Suicide Squad, with Peacemaker currently standing over Heatwave, with Asa currently trying to heal him up because he just got in a brutal fight with Swamp Thing. And while Heatwave, with a great effort, tried to take down the Swamp Thing, it was simply impossible. No matter how powerful his flames are, the Swamp, the Green, is much stronger. And so with Peacemaker having a good amount of his team down, he is not sure what they can do here, with Asa letting him know that this isn't simply a meta-human. This isn't simply something that they can cage. That this is the Swamp. This thing is much bigger than anybody could think. This is something of the mystical. Not only that, but Parasite is out there, having no idea what Parasite is up to, with Chemo going around the forest looking for anything that would be the Swamp Thing, leaving a trail of destruction in his path. And so what Peacemaker wants is to do an evac, to get this team out of here and reassess the situation. But of course, Amanda Waller lets him know that if he doesn't bring back anything of Swamp Thing, if he doesn't bring back something that she can work with, then he is not going to be returning at all. And she also informs him that he won't be returning to Belle Reve, that once he does get something of Swamp Thing, they have some new X-filled plans. Now that's when we pick up with the Swamp Thing, currently making his way through the forest. And this whole time, the Swamp Thing is really learning everything, because this is a new avatar. That avatar being Levi Kamali. And what he has learned is that he is the living memory of the Green. He is its protector. He is the guardian. And right now, this forest is calling out. It is screaming out to him. And this forest gives him a glimpse of everything, from when man first stepped on this land to the very time they are currently in, showing him someone brought something into the forest, something that is hurting the forest, and he has to find it. He has to find it and get rid of it so he can help the forest. And as he makes his way through the brush, this is when he sees an individual. This individual being Jennifer, the woman he cares about, the woman he loves. Not understanding how she is here, not understanding why she is here. This is vastly confusing him. But in this moment, he's extremely happy. He's happy to see her, regardless of the circumstances that brought her here. And we see him embrace Jennifer. With these two embracing, we learn very quickly that this is not in fact Jennifer. This is Asa. Now she's not unfamiliar with what the Swamp Thing is. Not necessarily, but more importantly, she understands the human heart better than anything. And this is exactly how she gets a hold of the Swamp Thing. That's how she's able to get close. By pretending to be Jennifer, making the Swamp Thing see what she wants him to see. This gives her the opportunity to get up close and personal. And we see Asa use her abilities and open him up mentally. And this is going to give her access to his memories, being able to peep into his mind, to see what is laying under the surface. And we get a glimpse of the past, of Levi with his father and his brother. And with Levi returning, he's doing this both as a brother and a son, but he's also doing it in representation of Prescott, the company that wants to buy up this land. And Levi's goal is to convince his father, to convince the tribe elders to allow this deal to go through. That it will only benefit the people. It'll benefit them with schools and roads and healthcare and hospitals. Great things that just have never come to this region. But Levi's father wants to teach him a lesson, wants to teach him about this land, how they are all connected to this land, how they have all become one with this place. And his father tells him a story of two brothers who were gods to be. One of them being injured in a great battle, with him contracting a vexing illness. The other brother sent out his best warrior to find any kind of cure. And after searching for great time, that warrior found himself inside of this forest. The only thing is, there was no cure, no magical herb to be plucked from the soil. So he bore the whole mountain upon his back. And he did this in hopes of finding a cure upon its eternal slopes, letting him know that the forest will always choose someone who understands that it truly holds the gift this world bestowed upon them, that one has to carry the burden of all the responsibilities. The only way to find a cure is to carry the mountain. And his father lets him know that they are not going to be allowing this deal to go through, that he has spoke with the elders and none of them agree to it, because Levi simply just doesn't understand what this land means to them. And as Levi is going through all of these memories, Asa is trying to dig to the root of it, the memory that binds him to the green, that makes him the avatar, because that's how these things work. These avatars, they always find a host with some kind of huge grieving pain. All of this trauma, all of this pain, this is what connects him. This is how the green finds him. And Asa, what she wants to do is to be able to help him, to be able to take this pain away, to take that trauma from him. It would make him no longer the Swamp Thing. The avatar of the green would no longer be, at least for Levi. And Asa's really giving him an option, because right now Peacemaker is out there. Amanda Waller wants him taken down. And so all of this could end right now. Everything that she is looking for. Everything that she has sent the Suicide Squad here for. And what she can do is take all of this pain away from him, can heal his mind, heal his body, and make him no longer the Swamp Thing. And this is when we dive into the memory that really causes him pain. As people sit around the village, they rejoice, they talk about how they're not doing this deal, how it won't go through, and the forest will stay as it is. But little did they know, Levi, behind all of their backs, he signed the deal. He didn't tell the people, he didn't have their consent, but he signed this deal anyway, believing that they were standing in the way of progress. Using the reach of the company, they pushed through government policies. And with all of this happening, the land deal gets pushed through. But with this happening, things begin to escalate. People begin to rally together, organizing protests and demonstrations. But really what hits home for him is the fight with Jacob, the fight with his brother, because his brother believes that they were betrayed. He betrayed his entire family, all of his people. He betrayed the very land that he is standing on. And this argument was the last argument that he ever had with his brother. And that night, his father and the protesters, they decided that they were going to march from the city to the heart of the forest, with the government denying them any kind of permission inside of the forest. With things escalating, Prescott believes it's time for Levi to leave. It's time for him to get out of here before things get too out of hand. And as he packs his bags, as he gets ready to go, he sees on the news the protesters, the riots, and the next day he learns that his father, being at those protests, had been shot. That all of his efforts, everything he has done, has led to this single moment. And this is exactly what Asa was looking for. This trauma, this turmoil, wounding him at the very soul. She could remove it, heal it right now, get rid of this cancerous growth from him, and he would never have to carry this burden again. The Green would go looking for a new avatar, and Levi could go back to his regular life. knowing the previous Swamp Thing, considering them maybe to even be friends at some point. And that's why right now she is making the offer to cut Levi off from the green completely. And with time running out, with Chemo making his way closer and closer to their location, she needs an answer, and she needs it now. And the Swamp Thing whispers only a few words, letting her know that sometimes the cure is to carry the mountain. And so after that, she steps outside and lets Chemo know that she is done, that she is leaving, that he is inside that cave. She gave him a choice. He chose, and now it is time to go. Now, of course, Chemo, having one objective mind, he kneels down and he starts spewing out all kinds of chemical crap. As all this chemical begins to eat at him, begins to disintegrate his body, he goes back and he thinks of the resilience of the trees, the chemical compounds that are inside of nature, the chemical compounds that can combat this kind of unnatural waste. And as it begins to engulf him, as it begins to take him over, the Swamp Thing remembers his duty. He remembers who he is. And he rises from this cave, standing 20 stories tall. And this is where the true battle begins. And that is where we're gonna dive into issue number 8. And we're picking up with Peacemaker and Asa having a conversation. Obviously, Peacemaker absolutely livid that the Swamp Thing was let go, that she had him and she chose not to keep him restrained. She chose not to do the mission. And she tells him flat out that the Swamp Thing is not something that you can possess, it's not something you can cage, it's not something you can keep restrained. And to believe that you could shows how big your hubris truly is. To ever think that you could control literally a force of nature. And so he lets her know that she needs to get out of here, but his window is closing. His evac is coming up soon, and he whips out some batons that Prescott made for him, made of the same chemical compound that they introduced into the forest. This is supposed to be able to combat the green. And so with Peacemaker believing that there is peace that needs to be had here, and that he is not going to leave until that is finished, he walks into the forest. He walks in, going to face the Swamp Thing. Now, with the Swamp Thing defeating Chemo, with Chemo having no chance against the Swamp Thing, the forest starts to come alive. It starts to lead him in certain directions, pulling him where this object is stuck in the forest. Whatever this is that Prescott dropped inside of the forest. But as he makes his way through the forest, he knows that something is following him. There is something that is hunting him. And as he looks over his shoulder, this is where he sees Parasite coming out looking like the freaking Hulk. Now, the Swamp Thing, he can feel that this thing is somehow connected to the green, somehow having the same power flow through it that he does himself. But for some reason, it's not of its own will, consumed and metabolized to a terrible purpose. But this makes him understand exactly why they are hunting him. This is what they would do to the Swamp Thing, turn him into a monster of their making. And as the Parasite does everything he can to try to consume the Swamp Thing lets him know that you can't beat me like this. You can't fight me like this, no more than you can fight the memories that I am going to see. And as he drips into his mind, this is where he starts to see glimpses of where Parasite began, of the man Rudy Jones that lies underneath the surface. He sees the makings of the Parasite. But this isn't a one-way street, because this is where Parasite also gets a glimpse of the makings of Levi, of when he first became the Swamp Thing, when the Avatar first grabbed hold of him. And the first time that happened is when he was in his father's room, as his father laid there dying. And the Swamp Thing tries to reach out to the Parasite to let him know that he isn't this monster that they created, that he can be forgiven, he can do better, he has an opportunity to do something more. But in the midst of this fight, this is where we see a giant fire blast. But this fire blast did not come from Peacemaker. It came from his brother Jacob, now going by the name of Hedera. letting his brother know, letting the Swamp Thing know that since the last time he was here, many things have changed. Letting his brother know that it wasn't monsters like Parasite, or the Swamp Thing, or himself that drove everything from this land, that got his father shot, that caused all of this chaos. It was human beings. It was him, his brother, his father. All of these people are the cause of what brought everything that happened. Now, these two brothers, they were anointed as children. They were meant to be the guardians of the old ways, of the forest and the secret within. And Jacob believes that his brother should have been stopped a long time prior to this. But his father, their father, believed that Levi would eventually see the ways that they're trying to teach them, that the old ways are very important to everything that they hold dear. And so right now he's definitely a little envious of his brother. He has this power now because he believes the Swamp Thing, the Avatar, should be his for the taking, that he was here to protect it when Levi was not, that Levi is the cause to all of this. And we see Jacob, aka Hedera, he takes Parasite and he just twists him in the most sinister way possible. And that's because he consumed part of the green. He fed on the green's power, engorging himself with it. While Jacob may not be the avatar of the green, he is still able to manipulate it. And he tries to apologize to Jacob, to tell him he's sorry, to tell him that he didn't choose to be the green's avatar. But this is when Jacob informs him of the truth, because their mother performed an ancient ritual. She did this inside the forest and called upon its spirits. So while some people are chosen by the green, that is not the case when it came to Levi. And so while some of the avatars, they did choose Levi, that is not the case for the entirety of the green. That is not the case for all of the avatars. And that is how Jacob was imbued with some kind of power. But Jacob, he makes his exit, letting his brother know that in good time, the green will be his to wield. That the avatar, the green, will all see it his way soon enough. And he tells his brother that he has one more task ahead of him, that Jacob is going to go wander off into the forest, that he will return in good time when he has amassed the power that he needs to. But for the time being, he tells the Swamp Thing to go look for that object that was dropped in the forest. Look on it and see the origins of where it came from. See the heirs of your ways. And as Swamp Thing makes his way over to this device, he sees that it is manufactured by Prescott, the same company that he allowed into this land, the same company that shot his father, the same company that manipulated and used every aspect they could to be able to take this forest over. And as Swamp Thing sits here and holds this device, as he tears up, recognizing everything that he has done wrong, seeing the error of his ways, this is when Peacemaker comes in behind him. And he has one simple question. He asks why. Now, of course, Peacemaker, he doesn't know the answer to that. Wondering if Prescott sent him, that's not the case either. And so Swamp Thing, he doesn't understand. You know, if that isn't the case, if you're not working for Prescott, then why? And Peacemaker lets him know that he has a power, the kind of power that people want. And until they get it, there will be no peace. And it is his job to ensure that there is peace. And so we see the battle break out. The Swamp Thing versus Peacemaker. Peacemaker using these batons infused with the ability to be able to combat the green. But this fight doesn't go on for long, and that is because Swamp Thing, he ends it very quickly. After them jousting just for a minute, he stops Peacemaker and lets him know, showing him the exploding device that was put inside of his neck, because the Swamp Thing, he grabbed it out. When Parasite had the green flowing through him, he had sensed the device, and he assumed that Peacemaker also had one inside his neck, thinking that this is how they control them. If he takes this away, this fight could be over. And with the Swamp Thing's vines on the back of his neck, currently imitating the bomb's pulse, he gives Peacemaker the option that he can truly have peace. And this is his opportunity to walk away from the green and never come back. And with Peacemaker agreeing to this, Levi is now going to go hunt down Prescott, find out who is responsible for everything that has happened. Who are the individuals that back them? Who are the individuals that convinced Levi to go and convince the elders in the beginning? What was the point of all this? Why did they want this forest to begin with? What makes it significant? And if it's the power of the swamp thing that they were after, it's the power of the green they were after, he wants to know who wants it and why they want it. And that will be the end of these issues. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like I have said 1,000,001 times throughout these videos, Ram V is arguably one of the best writers currently working for DC Comics. Ram V's future state event with the Swamp Thing is probably some of the best writing that DC Comics has had in years. And this story is just continuing on with how great that story can be, leading up to that point, leading up to the point where Swamp Thing creates humanity again, but in his own image. And this is because humanity is more or less wiped out. Swamp Thing is left on this planet, desolate, isolated, for years and years. And so with only a couple more issues left, this is really giving us the introduction to this Swamp Thing, where he comes from, his origin story, what motivates him, what drives him, why he continues to be the Swamp Thing when he had ample opportunity to not do so. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out, and until the next breakdown.